Welcome to another episode of Raising Nashville. I'm Bucky.
Juicebox.
And Oldboy.
Okay, it's starting to grow on me.
It is. It looks great.
No, it does not look
Looks
great.
good
It
on you.
sounds maybe terrible.
How about this in my Morgan Freeman voice? Oldboy.
Yeah, so what we wanted to do this week is cover a widely discussed topic. And I know I've been talking about this for quite a while now with other friends, and we wanted to talk about what we were allowed to do as children that our children are not allowed to do today.
Right.
And we're talking about, I mean, just some examples, riding our bikes to the store or leaving your house at 9 a.m. and not coming home until after dark, exploring the woods, trick-or-treating without your parents there. I mean, that was a big deal, and I've yet to, see kids trick-or-treating without supervision on the street. Another example is like riding in the bed of pickup trucks. I mean,
You've been on the lookout for kids without their parents on Halloween.
Oh, God. I knew it would come right back there. No, I'm not. No, I'm observant. What I call this week is you're going to make fun of this.
I'll try not to.
Is time sheltering our exploration. And that is what I wanted to get into this week, is kind of how time and how things that happen throughout time, whether it be, a span of 10 years or a span of 50 years, what effects that has on what you're able to do as an adolescent these days.
Okay. Well, I think, all right, so you're looking at the older generation, our parents, and then you're looking at our generation, and then you're looking at the future generation.
Sure.
Like, and what our parents got. I think didn't our parents probably have to start working at like age 12?
I think that's true.
Like, so, I mean, as far as like summers and stuff, I don't know what they did,
So
our parents, but I mean, I know when I was growing up, summers, we were at home. Me and my brother were at home all day by ourselves, we were at home, but we were outside all week.
Sure.
So, I mean, we had nothing but freedom.
Yeah, and as an only child, I was at home by myself a lot. So creativity came into play.
Sure.
Because, when you look at it, and there are certain different things that I'd like to get into. One is the amount of time and what has happened throughout that time, right? So I remember my grandmother saying stuff like, "Oh, there's bad people out there. You don't want to do." She would always go back to, this world is becoming so there's so much craziness in this world, and because she watched the news a lot, so I'm pretty sure she watched 4 news shows a day, and only bad things were on the news. So that was her vision of life, because she never got out. I mean, she drove to church, she went to the grocery store, that was it, right? So all of her information came from the news, and it was all negative information. So she thought the world was crazy. Now that we've lived through this world, and she lived through things too, so did my parents, and so did us.
Right.
So when you think about it, like effects of things like, and I hate to bring this up because I don't think it affects it one way or another, but the whole, probably the biggest thing that we've lived through in our lives is 9/11, right?
Okay.
So we've gone through
okay.
a couple of wars, but they weren't as serious as some of the wars that preceded them. Yeah. So they got to see that firsthand.
Right.
But things that you encounter over your lifespan, I mean, we're all in our, upper 30s, close to 40 now. And I've gone through some things like, I have been at a hotel party and had a gun drawn on me, and that was scary.
As a kid?
High school, younger high school though. I couldn't drive.
Yeah. High school's a little different. Okay.
Then you hear things like, and you watch documentaries like everybody's discussing now, Finding Neverland and, the R. Kelly thing and all of these things. And that's just recent. I bring that up because they're recent, but this has happened for so long that it kind of...
pedophilia. Yeah, I mean,
no, I didn't want to get into that.
Well, right, but I mean that's.
I was just using examples.
Well, right, but yeah, I think a big fear of why people don't let their kids out is because there's instances of kids getting picked up or snatched or what have you. I mean that's a it's a fact of life that has happened. It does happen. We have Amber Alerts. It's a part of real life.
Do you think that kids getting abducted is more prevalent now than it was when we were younger? Because I feel like my parents, my mom especially, my dad not so much, but my mom put the fear of strangers into me. Like she had me convinced that like a stranger was going to snatch me up and throw me in a car if I wasn't like vigilant, basically.
Sure,
like,
right. We all remember that. I mean, that was a big deal when we were kids. Don't take candy from a stranger.
Right.
Like, and you saw all these after school specials or, examples of a guy rolling up in a white van and opening the door and it's fucking Funhouse inside. Maybe you didn't see those.
If I saw that in real life, I probably would have been enticed into that van. I'm not going to lie.
But that was our generation. It was somebody's going to steal my kid generation, right?
See, I think it's been going on since the dawn of time, and we just have quicker, faster media now. That's all. Or
it's easier to find those people. Or
right. I mean, there's registries.
That's what I feel. I feel like kids are not getting kidnapped as much as, and probably not even in the 80s as much as like our parents tried to make us believe.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think past generations probably kids got kidnapped a lot more. Now it's like, I mean, there's cameras everywhere.
Right.
Kids have phones or like iPods, or they have something that's probably got a GPS tracking thing in it. Like, I just feel like
they might as well be microchipped.
Yeah. Well, that's scary. Maybe I'm being naive, but I feel like abduction is not as big of a thing as it once was. Maybe.
No, because there's so much more out there. And like in a previous episode, we talked about, monitoring internet activity and things like that. So you have to be worried about that. And you have to be worried about drugs, and you have to be worried about, not a stranger abducting your child, but somebody that you know closely. Like, that's how the Amber Alerts come out.
That's what most Amber Alerts are, is somebody like a family member kidnapping a kid.
Is the reason that we got to go out a lot more and see this stuff on our own, things that we've lived through and things that our parents lived through that they try to get us to do, and it just kind of compounds generation after generation? Or is it this big deal about sheltering your children? And that's something that I really looked into this week. Is sheltering the reason that these kids don't get as much freedom as we had when we were kids, right? And are we sheltering? And I want to kind of unearth this whole I guess it's individual. We'll find out. Like, are you sheltering by me looking through some of this stuff? So when I look at the effects of sheltering, and I read an article on it, there were two types of things that it all boiled down to when it came to sheltering. And you can, talk about, I didn't let him watch this, or I didn't let him read that, or I'm enabling him by still, making him food when he could make it himself.
Okay.
Him or her, sorry. But it all came down to the two main effects of sheltering, and the effects are two different types of stress in children. And one is acute stress, which is like short-term. It deals with frightening, dangerous situations, competitiveness. Like, this is stress on kids when they're growing up. And then there's chronic stress, and this is long-term stress. And it's more things that you really can't, you can control it, but it's kind of inside you. And it gets a little bit more serious. It's like abuse, showing your kids that you have anxiety, exposure to certain things that they, don't need to be exposed to, and then deprivation,
constant exposure. Like if I were a raging alcoholic, and they see that every day, is that kind of thing? Okay.
Yeah. So exposure to, all kinds of situations, but mostly negative. So chronic stress is, again, like the things that are inside the parent, and these are things that you can control, and things that, you should always try to shelter your children from. You should try to protect them. You're protecting them from these things that they can't really control, right? And they can't make a decision on. So, but they say that acute stress, which is the short-term stress, which is your sensories of frightening and being in a dangerous situation or being competitive with somebody, this is beneficial to their development. And you need to expose them to as much acute stress as possible over time.
All right,
and
give me some examples. And
it does say this. So what I wanted to do is there's a doctor that deals with children's mental states named Perry Class, and a great quote came from this doctor. Said, if you actually succeed in keeping your child pure and unexposed, you face a much more potent risk, which is a child who grows up without learning how to evaluate, handle, and get past the occasional unexpected dose of one kind of junk or another. So basically, acute stress, examples of acute stress are, letting them fall for the first time, without catching them. You have to let them find out on their own. You have to let them, crash their first bike, because they'll know not to do whatever they did again. It's kind of like a learning process.
Right.
You have to let them, it's crazy to say, but you have to let them get close to a car in a parking lot and this is the reason you look both ways, So acute stress is that frightening stuff, that, dangerous stuff. And another thing, acute stress is like when they get in arguments with other children at school, like you don't step in, you let that play out. As a parent, you're not going to step in. It's hard. This would be the hardest one, but if it says that if they got in a fight, and you're witnessing it, you don't get in the middle of that. Obviously, until it goes too far.
So all right. So maybe if my daughter, I've just started giving her the chore of like doing dishes, right? So if she's like doing a bad job, I'm gonna fire her and let her kind of deal with that.
So she knows how to get fired.
That's right. Well, if you want some chore money, you better pick up a new chore. You got fired.
So you need a new job in this house.
You need to go find a new job and make sure you're good at that one, because dishes ain't it, baby.
Now, that is some early acute stress pushing right there. I don't know if I would go that far, but basically letting them experience it on their own. And that kind of ties back to our freedoms when we were children. Like we got to experience a lot more on our own, like real life situations. And then there's certain parents out there that are completely a sheltering parent versus someone who isn't. And
okay, yeah, because I've heard of like hoverers, like hovering parents, and like I don't want to be one either, but like you also have to keep an eye on your kid too, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, so yeah, shoot. I'm
and
interested
if you
in
think that, if you think that you might be a sheltering parent, and up until a certain age, you have to shelter your kids, right? Because you don't want to let them fall down the stairs at 2 and say, well, don't do that again. I mean, they're not completely developed, right? You teach them. So, but sheltering is something that you can control. And I found these signs that you're raising an over-sheltered child, right?
Shoot, I want to see if I am.
And some of the signs, you always step in, and I just touched on this, you always step in when there is an argument or altercation. Would you do that? If Sam's getting in if Samantha... Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it depends on what it is, what it's about. If she's being a jerk, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, quit being a jerk."
What if the other kid's being a jerk?
Deal with it.
Okay,
deal with it. Yeah, like.
Then so far you're not raising an overly sheltered child. So another sign was very generic. It says you prevent them from taking risks. Now that can be very broad, and obviously we're going to let our kids take some risks in life. This morning I let my 2-year-old climb up on a bar stool, and I didn't think he could do it, and I just watched him, and he did it.
That's okay.
That's a risk, right? There's a small example.
Did he grab a beer?
He did not yet. Another reason would be being obsessed with hygiene to keep them safe from germs, bacteria, and illness.
No.
Okay, so I don't agree with that either.
Yeah,
but no, some people are. I mean, there's germaphobes out there, but I think there's also parents trying to protect their children. They're probably the same parents that take them to the doctor way too much.
Yeah, those are the kids that are sick more often. I feel like the parents are germaphobes. You got to get like a nice base layer of germs on you. I feel like
definitely. Another one was you want your child to live out certain experiences because they were disappointing and difficult for you. Now, this was the biggest negative one. This one like really set in with me. I'm like, who would do that?
No, I think it's. What do you mean? Like, yeah,
I didn't get it. I tried to think of it. I'm like, okay, so what was disappointing or difficult for me that I want my child to learn? Because I mean, a lot of things in life are difficult that he's going to learn on his own.
You're right, and no, I mean, yeah, mine's gonna go through those things. If it's part of life, so yeah,
I'm not going to take the most scarred moments that happened in my life and take my two kids and say, I'm going to put you in this situation to see how you deal with it. That's sadistic.
Right, that's sadistic, but
people do that.
They're gonna be in those situations anyway. They're just gonna be.
Yeah.
I mean, the short term stress effects of, I don't know, she's gonna go to school and not be prepared for a presentation, or she's gonna, you know what I mean? She's gonna get picked on or something. You know what I mean? She's gonna have to deal with things.
And another sign that you're raising an oversheltered child, and this goes back to the chronic stress when we talked about that, is you are anxious and worried around them. That's one of those things where, again, that goes back to that chronic stress and the fact that you're always showing that you're an anxious person.
Yeah, there's definitely parents out there, and you can tell those anxious parents. Like, you can pick them out of a crowd because those are the hovers.
Well, that plays onto the next thing that says that if you're raising an oversheltered child, you get crushed if your child doesn't get into like a club, sport, or whatever in school. And I didn't really, I haven't been there yet. The oldest is 9, the youngest is 2, so we're not really into that competitive age. I mean, I remember, getting turned down for the basketball team twice. And, I don't know if my mom was crushed. You're supposed to be supportive in that situation. Like, You're not crushed, because that means you invested way too much into your kid. And then finally, again, we touched on this earlier, you make food for them when they are capable of making their own food. Now, that comes back to what age that is. And I'm doing a little more reading, and it's like, if you're making a high schooler food, like, you're enabling them to not have to do that. Yeah. And so that's being sheltered, because the further you go in life, the less you know about cooking food.
But what do you like? Are you talking about dinner, or are you talking about like
if they want a snack? Like,
oh, yeah, okay.
So my 9-year-old, he comes in every morning. He's like, I want Lucky Charms for breakfast, and I'm like, well, get the hell up and get the Lucky Charms and pour them in the bowl. You're 9. Like, the only thing I worry about you is you can't pick up a gallon of milk because you're not strong enough. So the effects of time is one reason that kids don't get to explore or get as much freedoms anymore. I think the effects of times, things we've gone through, things we've seen, things we want to protect our kids from. Sheltering is another, reason for this, I think.
I like your approach here. You've given us a good definition of sheltering and given us a good idea of the whole concept also of a timeline. Okay. Sure. All right. So let's
So now what I want to talk about is
Give Me Shelter.
The song?
How's it go?
I can't remember. I was trying to think of that earlier because you brought it up, and all I could come up with was give me shelter.
Not the string cheese version of Give Me Shelter. Okay.
How does Give Me Shelter go?
I'm going to leave you. This is going to be an acute situation where you got to figure it out for yourself.
Thank you for playing on that. So what we wanted to do now is talk about what we did as children versus what our children, there's no in hell we will let them do.
All right. I love this. All right. So what?
Let's go. I mean, we're going back to like 1988 right now.
To 88. So I was 7.
Yeah.
All right,
Nintendo was out.
Nintendo's out. Nintendo's been out. All right. So... I mean, I wouldn't. All right. I used to go to the store all the time. Me and my little buddies would go down to a Mega Market store, and I
remember that Mega Market. Yeah, for those of you who don't know out there in our listenership, as Oldboy, that's the first time I've said it.
I know. It's called acceptance.
We're getting there. So it's still terrible, but. We lived not too far from each other.
Yeah, we grew up pretty close together. So that Mega Market, man, we'd go. Is it Mega Market or Mega Mart? It wasn't around very long.
It was Mega Market.
It was Market? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I was only there every day.
For those of you that don't know, it was like a generic Kroger.
Right. Didn't make it. And
but it was huge. It's like if Walmart and Kroger had a baby, and it was like a knockoff baby.
Yeah, their colors were red and green, I think.
Christmas.
Yeah, it was a Christmas. But anyway, so we'd go down there all the time, walk down there, ride our bikes down there, whatever we did. And
what did you steal from there?
We stole a Red Dog beer once, and my buddy got caught. and he was the store manager was right behind him. And he didn't know it, and he had it inside of his coat pocket. And he's like, "Look what I got!" And he flicked it, and man, got hemmed up. And we stole a bunch of stuff out of the back.
I don't think Red Dog beer exists anymore.
It doesn't. That's just showing my age.
Yeah,
it's showing you how our age. We also stole some Jack Daniel's beer out of there, and we were kids. But
God, I was still in like grenade shaped balloons. You're still in beer.
Yeah, I'm hesitant about this episode a little bit because I think my parents are gonna be like, we should have sheltered that mother.
Oh, it's a good play. No, I mean, going back even earlier, like I remember, just again, you leave in the morning, you came back at night. Your parents went to work and you were home all day alone at like 8 years old, 6, 7, 8 years old.
You're right.
Maybe not 6, but at least by 8. At least to, on up. So there were some woods by my house. I used to explore a lot on my own. And there was also we lived in this condo complex, and behind the dumpsters, you'd always find some interesting stuff back there.
Sure.
Right? So I went back there one time and I found an old box full of Playboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, the age-old story of kids and Playboys. So I took those Playboys into the woods, and I kind of started
exploring yourself.
I was gonna say build a fort,
okay,
and hang these Playboys up, and I would nail them to a tree, and I put them all around in this one area and in the woods. And I remember one time somebody I thought was walking through the woods, and this was a random summer day. So what did I do? I got nervous. This was me being approached by acute stress.
You burnt down your tree house.
I definitely took a book of matches and started burning one Playboy. And that Playboy caught the next Playboy on fire. And before you know it, the fire truck is there and an ambulance. And again, this is another situation. If you've listened to our podcast before, I ran inside my house. And I went upstairs and I drew a bath. And within 30 minutes... Oh man! And within 30 minutes, there was a fireman to ambulance knocking on my door.
So was this the second time you got spanked in the bathtub?
I think it's the third.
Oh man!
But that's our freedom. I mean, also let's talk about what our parents allowed us or had us do growing up that we won't have our kids do, right? Seat belts are one of them. We never really had to use seat belts. I don't remember being in a car seat, as old as kids are now.
Yeah, that's true.
Our parents used to leave us in the car when they went inside stores.
Oh man, all the time.
And that cannot happen anymore. That can't even be a choice, because if somebody sees a kid in a car, I mean, you're going to jail.
Flip it. People
I think
flip
it depends on how old the kid is.
I've left my kid in the car. I just lock my car and go in the store.
I've yet to do that.
Now, maybe not the grocery store, maybe like the gas station.
If you can see them out the window.
Right. I mean,
so that's another. When I was growing up, my dad used to let me ride in the trunk of his car.
Sure. And
that was fun for me. I loved that. I begged to ride in the trunk of his car.
Riding in the trunk?
Yes.
Man.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I was thinking the bed of the truck. I'm sorry.
In the trunk of a car.
That is a terrible idea.
It's a terrible idea, but we did it.
Who was he hiding you from?
Nobody. At least not that I know of. I used to like the little tiny, so you could see the tail lights through the trunk, right?
Okay,
and it illuminated the trunk just a little bit, and I loved riding in the trunk of a car.
And I've never been in the trunk of a car.
Sure.
That's how that might
I have as a teenager, and it's not
as fun as you think.
I mean, Bucky is romanticizing the hell out of it.
No, I was also half the size of you as a teenager, so I could fit in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Would he like drive down like old dirt roads or like just?
No, they weren't bumpy rides.
Okay, you just.
I think the longest trunk ride I endured was about an hour. And it was fun to me.
Your childhood is so fascinating to me.
But you're also right. Like parents, like letting their kids like drive, like sitting in their lap and letting them drive and stuff.
That was a big thing, and I think that is still doable. I think I'll still kind of do that. I might go to a parking lot, but I'm not going to go down the 2-lane road. But, another thing was dropping us off places and picking us up hours later. And these are major public places.
Yeah.
The shopping mall, the movie mall. Theater, in our case, the theme park.
Yeah, you're right.
For us, it was like there was a public pool that was maybe a half a mile from our house. And for some reason, they had the arbitrary rule that once you were 12, you could go in without a parent. So, like, once you were 12, every summer, like that, as soon as the pool opened, it cost like 50 cents to get in or something like ridiculously cheap.
Sure.
So it was just like every day from like 10 a.m. to like 6 p.m., you were just at the pool.
I think my mom actually exposed me to Acute Stress every Friday night when I was dropped off at the Mount Juliet skating rink from 7 to 11. And I got everything from my first kiss, my first fight, the first time somebody poured an icy on my head. All the happened
first
at
this
skating rink.
There's a multiple. It sounds like a chronic stress problem, my friend.
It wasn't. The first time, competitiveness, the first time, I won one of those skating competitions and the million times I lost.
I gotcha.
The movie theaters on Friday nights as we got a little bit older. So, and these are things that our kids are not going to get to do.
True. I mean, you're right. I'm not going to let my kid walk to the store. One, mine's a girl. Two, it'd be different if there was a gang of kids, but their kids are not outside, so it's a whole society thing. I think
that is true. I mean, that was like the neighborhood we grew up in. I mean, there was probably 10 to 15 kids that lived on this street, and everybody like knew each other, and everybody hung out. And I mean, some people sucked, and they weren't allowed to hang out, or they got beat up every time they did. But for the most part, yeah, we had like a street gang.
You had a gang. I had a gang. Do you have a gang?
I was the gang, and then they all kind of followed me. That's not true. No, we had a gang. We had the kid that nobody liked. We had the kid that thought he was too cool. We had the kid that I don't know, that got everybody in trouble, and I'm pretty sure that was me.
Yeah. So you had a gang too. So it's different though, because like your 9-year-old doesn't have a gang.
No, because according to my wife, we live in a neighborhood with no sidewalks, and that affects it. And I was thinking about that this morning. That goes back to shelter. Kids are getting drawn even further inside the shelter, which is ultimately the home.
Right.
And I think video games have a lot to do with that. And I think we were somewhat part of the transition of that. Because I remember when we were kids, everybody was outside playing and having a great time. But the first time somebody got a PlayStation, I mean, we all had Nintendos, and they went so far. And then it kind of gradually Super Nintendo and then went up. But the first time somebody got a PlayStation, it was like outside just stopped.
Right.
Everybody was inside somebody's basement in the dark, and I'm the kid that's always like, let's go outside. No, we just got Ridge Racer, and we want to play this, and that's why to this day I think video games killed my friends.
No, PlayStation. I see what you did there. All right, so if PlayStation, none of my friends had PlayStation until high school.
In 9th grade, I still wanted to play wiffle ball and play home run derby and smash the shit out of somebody in backyard football and go shoot paintball guns and go find a new set of woods we hadn't explored yet. And these kids are just starting to gravitate. Now, when you look at kids, and we go back to previous episodes we've done here, kids have, my 9-year-old has exactly 9 screens to occupy him. So
Sure.
outside means nothing. We can get him to go outside, but he stays out there for like 5 or 10 minutes. It's like, I'm going to go back inside.
He's bored. I mean, I get it. He doesn't have a gang to go explore with. It's hard to go explore by yourself. Maybe not you, but it's hard for some people to go explore by themselves, man. And
is technology like stunting creativity a little bit in that way? Because I feel like when we were kids, you would just go outside and figure out something to play. Like you were creative.
had to get
figured
creative.
out something. Yeah.
we had
So do they not have that skill
No,
nowadays?
because the
Or,
creative
like,
comes to them. There are millions of people out there creating video games and everything that you see these days that are bringing the creativity to them to where they don't have to lift a finger.
so there's less opportunity to be bored, I guess.
Yeah.
Is what it is. Because I mean that was the thing. There wasn't shit to do. You got bored. You made up something to do.
That's right. That's exactly it. And
So kids
they've
aren't
taken
out-
boredom away.
Yeah, so they're not outside testing the waters. They're not seeing how far they can go before we yell and say, come back.
I agree.
You know,
I agree. I mean, but as you get older, though, like as I got older, yeah, we had Nintendo as a kid, but we were outside every day, all day, unless it was raining. That's when Nintendo came into effect.
Sure.
And
That's what I feel like that too. Or like the wintertime, we played Nintendo in the
Right,
wintertime.
yeah.
But like if it was nice outside, like I said, we were at the pool or we were riding our bikes somewhere.
right, we had a creek, man. We were always at the creek. We were always, exploring, building. We had some pretty elaborate tree houses when we were kids.
I agree. We built forts.
Yeah,
as
forts. Right. Yeah. I mean, it was. It was different, man, and it's different now. I think that's a great way to put it, man. Kids are not. There's no boredom, and they don't have to come up with something and make something.
This makes me a little bit sad because
Yeah.
They're not going to get to experience.
yeah. And the house I live in right now has a giant backyard. And I remember before, we didn't have a kid when we moved in here, but I just remember thinking like I would have loved this backyard when I was a kid. Like it's giant. There's some woods at the back. There's like a shed, it's like, it's everything that kid me would have wanted in a backyard.
Right.
Yep.
And now it's like, I don't even know if my kid will give a shit about it at all.
Right.
And it's always going to go back to the old saying, my generation did this or had this or was better in this way because we did this,
Well, yeah, we got to. That's what the older generation does.
So does that mean that the older generation always says that I want a better life for my kids, but ultimately we had the better life? So you're just saying that to make people feel good about the next generation?
That's right. It's a fallacy. We're all. I think all we're doing is just making them more comfortable. That's all it is. You've done a hell of a job here today.
I don't need your approval. This is just
Clap
three
on the
guys
back.
talking.
I'm impressed.
Okay, so to end it, what I would want to do is rapid fire. What would you not allow your kid to do today that you were more than likely allowed to do?
Rapid fire.
Yeah, no. Maybe I should go back. I feel like I put you guys on the spot.
Okay. All right. Listen to Dr. Dre. I was allowed to listen to Dr. Dre. Not sure I want my kid listening to Dr. Dre.
I was not allowed to listen to Dr. Dre.
See, that's one thing I can't say for 100% for sure, but I'm not really going to care that much what my kid listens to music-wise. Like, music is something else that's...
What if it was ICP?
Okay. You called my bluff. I can't have a Juggalo.
Yeah, that is not happening.
Oh, my God. Your kid comes home with ICP makeup on. What do? We go back to the spanking episode.
You did not shelter. Yeah, you did not shelter enough.
Oh, that's great. Okay, yeah. You're right. I don't want to curb my kids' because music is a huge thing.
It's like an art form, Obviously, you're going to want to monitor it some, but
every generation is going to be mad about something.
Yeah.
How old does your kid have to be before you allow them to go to Broadway without your supervision?
My kid already loves downtown Nashville, loves it. So I have no idea. Without my supervision, she's got to be at least
like a teenager, maybe.
a teenager. Yeah.
But where is that line?
Once she can get her ass down there and back, I guess.
So 15, 16, when you know somebody 16, that has a car, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess, man.
So when I was 14 years old, my mom dropped me off to see Rage Against the Machine, and the Wu-Tang Clan opened up for it. And I remember being 14, and that's the first thought in my mind was, I don't think I should be here.
Man, I got to be honest with you. I'm kind of jealous.
I shouldn't have been there at 14 years old. So it turns into an age thing. You know, when will you allow your kids to do this, or will you at all?
I mean, I'll let my kid go to a show too, because I went to a show when I was like 15 or something. Like,
yeah, you got. I mean, yeah, I'm with you.
I feel you got to have those experiences.
Yeah, you got to let them go. They got to see it. They got to check things out. I mean, yeah, it'll come with time. I'm trying to think of something that I was allowed to do that I'm like, no, I'm definitely not allowed. You know, like
it's hard for me to think of something that I'm just like straight up. I mean, I guess you decide on a case by case basis type thing. You know, like as it comes along, you might make a different decision. But no, I can't think of anything that I would just be like, no, you can't do that. Except for maybe ride in the back of a truck. That is pretty questionable.
Fair
or
enough.
ride in the trunk of a car.
So we can all agree we lived the best life.
yeah,
I'm still living the best life.
Yeah. We went through the best time to grow up.
but yeah, I had
It was
incredible.
awesome.
I had incredible freedom growing up, and that was I wouldn't trade it for anything.
We're the last generation too that like, you know, we first half of our lives, no internet, basically, you know,
Right.
internet didn't really exist. And even when it did at the beginning, it was like wildly different than it is now.
It took forever.
Yeah, you're right. Now who knows if I grew up in today's day, what I would be like, if I'd still be going outside and doing the things that I did then, or if I'd be, I don't know what kids do, looking at YouTube videos. I called my dad to ask him, I was like, hey, was there anything like you were allowed to do growing up that I wasn't allowed to do? And he's like, yeah, hitchhike. I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh man, that is a good
I
point.
was like, that's pretty on point. I think they could drink at 18 too. I mean, not to say I wasn't, but I mean, they could buy beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think they started work at 12, I think.
So before we end, old boy, I want to hear how you fire your daughter from doing the dishes. Like, let's set the scene. Like, you call her into the living room, like, have a seat.
Yeah. Do you do it while she's standing at the sink, or do you wait for her to get done and then fire? I want to know what kind of boss
she
be.
usually goes and either takes a bath or plays after we do chores and clean up after dinner. So I think I would say, hey, excuse me, Sam. Sam, could you come in here real quick? I need to talk to you.
Where are you at this point?
I'm in the kitchen by the dishes. And, you know, she takes a few minutes. So it's like, you know, well, I want to do. And I have to use my dad voice. Sam, get your ass in here. You know, like.
Is that your dad voice or your dad saying? Because that's the exact same voice you just used.
I have to use my stern voice, you know, like now.
Okay. So at this point, she is think that she's done a good job at the dishes, and she's currently playing.
Yep. So
her reward.
Yep. She'll skip into the kitchen.
Happy as can be.
Yeah, with a Barbie who's naked, and she'll say, "Yes, Daddy," and I'll say, "Samantha, we need to talk about these dishes." And I'll have one. I'll have an example. I'll say, "See, look at your spaghetti stain still on this dish." I say, it's unacceptable. We're gonna have to let you go. We're getting complaints from upper management, your mom, and it's very unfortunate. We're so that your last allowance will be your last allowance paycheck, and you're terminated immediately. If you want to collect more money, you're gonna have to pick up a new chore, and you're gonna have to be better at it than the dishes.
God.
I hope there's no hard feelings.
That is serious.
So
acute stress.
You didn't even put her on like an action plan and be like, "This is how you can do better. We'll give you a week trial." You were just like straight up, nope.
Yeah, this is a one strike in her out household.
You're damn right.
She's gonna be the strongest person in life ever.
Well,
if you screw up, you're fired.
Well, I'm also kind of biased to doing the dishes. I like doing the dishes, so like I don't want her to take my chore. I want her to do a chore I don't want to do.
Did you properly?
These kids are taking our jobs.
We hope you guys enjoyed listening. If you don't have children,
Have one. Catch up.
Yeah, we want you to know what we go through.
Yeah, the fear.
See the storm is threatening my very life today. If I don't get some shelter, Lord, I'm gonna fade away. Oh, it's just a shot away. It's just a shot away. Oh, it's just a shot away. 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 See the stories burning my very life today. Give me shelter. Oh, I'm gonna fade away. Won't you love? It's just a shot away. It's just a shot away. Won't you love? It's just a shot away. I tell you love, it's just a kiss away. 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 Kiss away. Kiss